A lot of people are saying no, and I want to break down this, including what Warren Buffett says about a $150 billion warning to investors as we see this S&P 500 go ahead and progress. Now, when we think of Warren Buffett, he is one of the foremost and really one of the most prominent investors in the world. Under the leadership, Berkshire Hathaway in its Class A has increased 20% every year since the mid 60s. You want to talk about some crazy growth. If you just invested in Berkshire Hathaway in the 60s, it has had a 20% annual growth rate, which of course is almost doubling what the S&P 500 is doing, but the S&P 500 is still doing crazy amounts. Now, when we start looking at some of the biggest contributions, he has a lot of Apple, he holds Coca-Cola, American Express, that he bought for pennies on the dollar when the companies were relatively new. But now thinking of Berkshire Hathaway and their $300 billion stock portfolio and recent capital allocation decisions to really keep some of the money on the sideline and been a net seller in the last 7 quarters. So think about that. When you have one of the most prominent billionaires in the world that has been selling a lot more than they're buying in the last 7 quarters. So we're looking at almost 2 years of them really trimming the hedges and selling over $150 billion, which of course is half of that portfolio. Logical conclusion, Buffett is struggling to find reasonable price stocks that are marking and really running this market up. When we start thinking of the S&P itself, it trades at 22 times the forward earning, a premium to the 5-year average of 19.6. So the valuation of these companies are increasing, and that as a result is driving this S&P 500 to new highs, and we are going to see higher forward P/E ratios, which of course can really correlate to poor performance in the future. And there's a multitude of places that are just getting 3%, that aren't even getting 3%. And a lot of it is being driven by those AI stocks and those larger, really mega sized companies. So when you put this in context, when Warren Buffett drops $150 billion or sells $150 billion of stocks, it's kind of crazy because of the capital allocation that he has and what he can pull